Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
As we have discussed about the foundation object at the initial starting of the Employee Center, we have covered all the foundation object. Among the other foundation objects we have, SAP has categorized some of the objects under the other foundation. That includes the workflow, event, reason, and dynamic work. These are also a part of foundation object. If we want to go and create a workflow, if we want to go and create event reason or the dynamic work, we need to go into the configuration tool that is managed of page job and structure. That is one thing. But what is a workflow? What is the feature of the workflow? Before going into the workflow, we need to understand the process of the organization. Every organization, when the end user from the organization side, when they are making some changes in the employee profile, after making the changes generally, they will go and save those changes in the system. But if the management from the organization side, they don't want the changes should be saved automatically. It has to send a notification to the reporting manager or to the HR admin, whoever are the responsible approvals. And after receiving the notification, those approvals need to validate those changes. And then after that, once they are approving it, they have the authority that they can prove it or they can decline it. If any changes is required, they can decline it and send it back to the initiator. That type of a mechanism where an approval can be able to approve the changes, or they can be able to decline it. If they are approving it, that will be, or the system will automatically take that accept that approved request and the changes will be automatically updated in the system. This type of a mechanism we have in various organizations where they want to have this sort of process where an end user may be an employee or may be a manager. When they make some changes in the employee profile, it should not save automatically, but it should send a notification for the approval for approving that changes. And this process, what SAP has done, the SAP has created a feature that features this code as a workflow. And with the help of the workflow, this process can be mapped out by the workflow feature. And whenever a changes is being done in the employee profile by any specific role, any role, either the employee or the manager or the manager's manager, that will send a notification for the approval with the help of this feature. That is the purpose of coming up with this feature. That is for less and more flow. And when they introduced this workflow, they decided that to keep this workflow feature under the foundation object. When the object is coming under the foundation object, for creating that record for that object, we will be using the manage of job and structure. Let me go and share my Excel again to go and see some part of the theoretical concept here. Then we go into the system. Generally, to summarize, let me go into my Excel first of all. To go ahead, we can able to say that workflow is something, a feature which will help us to send approval request wherever the change or whatever the action is performed in the system. And according to the reaction, a change has been occurred, and that change will trigger the workflow and the notification will be sent to the approvals. For that, we should have this workflow. Workflow is a foundation of that. To configure a workflow, we need to define the following aspects. We need to have the list of approvals. Then we should have the triggering of the workflow. Triggering of the workflow, then the notification has to be sent to the approval. For the process of implementing and configuring the workflow and the notification, these are the areas which we are focusing on. This it specifies that first we have to set up a workflow. After setting up a workflow means in the setting up of the workflow there should be. We will go and see how to set up a workflow. But in a high level overview, we are going and seeing setting up the workflow, defining the rules to trigger the workflow. When you set up a workflow to trigger the workflow, there should be some rules. Defining the rules, and there will be some features which we need to configure for the workflow, and to get the workflow notification. We need to assign that particular workflow rules to the correct area that the workflow notification should be sent to, the approvals. When the workflow notification will be sent to the approvals. How the notification will be sent. For sending the notification, when we receive the notification, generally we will receive the notification in two ways, either into the SuccessFactors system or also into the email. Managing the workflow requires for managing the workflow also in the home page. We require these tiles. In the to-do section, we should have the tiles. What are the tiles we should have? One is the approval request and one is the take action. Approval request specifies user can access the workflow request. Take action. User can review the alert. Whatever is the alert, which will be receiving that alert, which will be updating in the take action title. These two tiles should be there in the to-do section in the home page of the template. To make sure the workflow work as expected and notification as unsuccessfully. For that also we should have the email settings. To have the proper email setting, what is happening? Workflow and alert notifications are sent to the employees through the email. It will get the notification in the to-do tile also, as well as in the email. Also, to get into the email, we should maintain the pop all email information. Well, we will maintain the email information. When we are creating the user, we have seen 4 methods: UDF, adname, ploy, 6 basic files. And also we have seen from the provisioning. When we are maintaining the employee data, in that we should have to maintain the valid email addresses. Then only the notification will be received in the email. That is one. Now coming into further, workflow screen is divided into 3 parts. Now we are discussing about the workflow. It's a foundation update. When you're going and creating the workflow from the manage also pays structure, it is divided into 3 parts. What are the 3 parts which has been divided into a pool, contributor and the CC load? The workflow screen is divided into 3 parts. That is the approval, contributor and the CC load. Let me go and show you in the system parallelly that we will have a clarity for that. Let me go into manage of job-based structure. I will go to manage all job-based structure. When I go into workflow, you can see workflow here. Select the workflow. Let's take some poll into this, and you can see here the Valve workflow screen is divided into 3 parts. One is approval. This is the approval section. That is the step 1. Step 2, step 3, these are the approval section. Then we have a contributor and then we have a CC load. These are the 3 sections. Workflow is divided. When you go into the approval section maximum, you can see step 1, step 2, step 3, maximum 6 steps. We can able to go and create the what you call level of approval. Step 1 will be somebody else, HR or somebody. Step 2 will be a manager. Step 3 will be manager's manager, like that. Maximum, we can go up to 6 levels of approvals. That only it is specified here. We can go up to maximum 6 levels of approvals in the workflow. Now coming into the approval. What is an approval section? What is the basic understanding of the approval section? It defined that they approve the workflow. Send that workflow, post a comment for the workflow, or it can reject the workflow. If an admin has enabled relevant features, they can also assign the workflow request to themselves or delegate the workflow. All these things will be carried in the approval section. What is the approval section? This step 1 to pull step 3, or maybe if we have step 6, or altogether step 1 to step 6 comprise of the approval section. What is the contribute section? What is the contributor? When you go into the contributor, what is the contributor section? Say it can provide the comment, it can provide, they can provide who the contributor. Whoever is there under the contributor, they can provide the comment that can help the approval to make a decision. Contributors are also notified about the progress or the changes during the entire workflow. Whatever is the development which is going on for each workflow and whatever the changes which has been done, that is also getting notified to the contributor. Contributor can also post a comment to the approval. If it will help us the approval to make a decision, that all comes under the contributor. What is the CC role? See, they are only notified when the workflow is completed. When in the approval section, you have a step 1, step 2, step 3. If all the steps, the approval is approved, the workflow, then the final notification in the CC role will be sent by the workflow is being completed. CC role is a section where whoever is being nominated as a CC role, they will be only getting an update. They cannot able to send a communication. They cannot be a part of an approval process. They will be only as a audience will be getting an update about this. Workflow is being completed. Finally, that is the part which will be coming under CC role. You can, whoever we are selecting as a CC role for them also, they will be getting a final notification in the email also, and it can get the update in the homepage also. This is the basic difference between the approval contributor and the CC role, where workflow screen is divided into 3 parts. Any questions here before going into the first part, that is the approval? Let me go passively and show you. When you go into the approval section, in the approval section we have an approval type. Let me go and show you here. In the approval section we have an approval type. In the approval type we can see here we have role, dynamic position and position relationship. When you are selecting the role here, suppose we are configuring a workflow approval type, we are selecting as a role. What are the roles which are there? That roles will be coming under the approval role. When you go and select here, you can see self-manager, manager, employee HR, matrix manager, custom manager and second manager. And we also have additional managers. All these are the standard roles. What do you mean by the standard roles? These are the default roles which is already there in SuccessFactor, which is already defined by SAP. We don't have to do any creation of new role because these are the standard role which will be showing. If you are selecting the role as an approval type, where it will come as approval role, then this will be there. What exactly is the role? To understand the role, the system determines the participants by the reporting line. When we are going and creating a user, we specify what is the role for that particular user. That only when we selecting the approval type as a role, system will automatically determine that the participant by the reporting line they can be an employee themselves or the managers, matrix managers or the HR's repositories. That is coming under the role which we have seen right now. These are the standard roles. Now we are selecting here and I'm selecting as a manager means, suppose I'm selecting here as a manager means it means that when the notification will be, when the workflow will be triggered, the first level, the notification will be sent to the manager. Because we have selected the approval type as a role, it will be sent to the manager. System never distinguish between that. The manager is HR manager or finance manager or sales manager. It will only specify that the system will only determine that the role as a manager and the notification will be sent to the manager. When the notification will be sent to the manager, that manager will be determined when you are going for a heavy and when you are mapping that manager to the employee. According to that, the notification will be sent. That is one thing. Now coming into the second one, that is, let's go and take dynamic role. We will take, but let's discuss about the this one dynamic group. Let me go back here into the system, and in case if I am selecting the approval type as a dynamic group. When I'm selecting this as a dynamic group, you can see by default, there are certain dynamic groups which is already showing here. Payable, HR department, finance department. All these other dynamic groups which is showing here. From where these dynamic groups are coming. To understand from where these dynamic groups are coming, for that we will duplicate a screen and there is a configuration tool to which the dynamic groups are defined. What is that configuration tool which is being there? The configuration tool is managed for flow group. Manage for flow group. When we go here and when we try to type manage workflow group, manage workflow group, when you're going into the manage workflow group, we can see here the HRHRVP detail. All these things which are showing here that is being created under the dynamic group. What is the dynamic group? What is the dynamic group? What is the dynamic group? The participants in the dynamic. The participants are the group of users. In the dynamic group, we can able to go and create a group of users. If I want to see here where the dynamic group is being selected as a HRVP approval. What is the HRVP approval here? When I will type here HRVP and when I can enter, you can see HRVP. How many people are there in here? Only one user is there. Suppose if I am taking another dynamic group, let me take something else. Let me scroll down. Let me take talent approval. I'm taking talent approval as a dynamic group. Who all members are there in the talent? Let me go and type here talent. You can see talent approval. How many members are there? 2 members are there. How this group is being created? When you click on create new group, this looks like an RVP setup, right? Where you specify the name of the group and we can add the from the by filtering the members in terms of this criteria. On the basis of the employee class, on the basis of the department, on the basis of the job code, on the basis of the username. On these criteria, we can add the members, and after adding the members, once you click on it, those members will be reflecting. Somebody has created this. You can see has a group named Talent Approval and how many members are there? 2 members are there. In the future, if you want to add one more member, click on here. You can click add another and you can able to add them. Member, that is one thing. Whatever the dynamic groups are there, the dynamic groups are defined from where it is defined from manage workflow group. From manage workflow group, we can able to see all the dynamic groups. And in each dynamic group, there will be some members will be there. When we are selecting here in the workflow, the upload type as a dynamic group, and we are selecting the relevant dynamic group from here, from the list. Here from where it is coming from, the manage workflow group, which is already configured. And here is the place where we are confusing the number of employees or the number of members in that particular group. When we are selecting the uploadable as a dynamic group, and this dynamic group may be having 2 members. When the notification will be triggered, when the workflow triggers and a notification will be sent, the notification will be sent simultaneously to both the members at a time. But it is not necessary that both the members has to approve it. Any one of the member can able to approve it and they can able to proceed further. Then what will happen? It will. Once the notification is approved by one of the member, it will be sent to the next level. That is the level 2. It is not necessarily that of all the members in that group need to go and approve it. Got it. That is the behavior of the dynamic group. Got it. That is about the dynamic. I was about to ask the question. Like all approach, should approve or anyone is? No notification they will be receiving at a time, but anyone can able to go and approve it. That is one thing. Then coming into the another behavior that is of dynamic. We have seen rule, we have seen dynamic rule. Now we are seeing dynamic rule. When we are selecting the dynamic rule, here also we can see lot of dynamic rules are populating. From where it is coming? I told in the other foundation we have in the workflow evaluation and dynamic rule as a foundation. Object, all these drop down results which are coming from the manage of job structure. When I duplicate the screen and when I select here the dynamic rule, when I select here the dynamic rule, we can see all the list will be coming from here. The business unit had chief people of user compensation. You can see here the same thing. Business unit had chief people of user compensation. All things will be coming from here. Suppose if I am taking randomly as a bank manager as a dynamic rule, workflow will be triggered in. Notification will be sent to the dynamic rule to understand who are the dynamic rule. First of all, what is a dynamic rule? For that I just specified here. The participants that generally dynamically determine according to the event reasons for a data change or certain foundation object. Subject is also to understand who are the dynamic rules. For that what we need to do? We have to go here and suppose we are selecting that particular dynamic rule. How it has been configured? I will go here and I will assign them. We can see here the dynamic role assignment. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.